Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sean, sometimes known as the Beast, and I've got a couple of records I want to show. Prior to that, there's other people put far better videos up than this one's going to be in relation to DoWII Fest 2. Suffice to say, Storm Ewing, or whatever the chuffing alley was called, absolutely kicked the arse out of the festival. However, massive shout out and massive respect to both Quando and Kendo for still managing to put a single day festival on that was just, it was flawless. There was no weak bands. I mean, there was a couple of bands obviously that had to pull out because of weather and travel and such like. Initially the festival was going to be Friday evening and then all day on the Saturday. And they say the storm was just absolutely horrendous up there. I actually decided to travel up on the Thursday evening, grabbed an extra night in the hotel, and on the Friday of the storm it was a case of right, just what nonsense is there on to watch on telly during the day, because everywhere was locked down. It was, I think if you've watched Johnny Mac's video, he compared it to the movie 28 Days Later, and it couldn't have been, you know, it was ridiculous. Fortunately for me, Dylan and a couple of his mates also turned up on the Thursday evening, and Jake from Jake's Metal Chat, so we managed to have a bit of a meet up and went down into the Solid Rock pub. It was only maybe 5-minute walk from the hotel, and cracking night in there. Absolutely fantastic little rock bar in the middle of Glasgow, and even though I wasn't drinking, it was still, you know, the music was playing and good crack and such like. On the Friday, I said we were sort of like confined to barracks almost, until probably about 4 o'clock I think it was, when Dylan finally phoned me and he sort of said, mate, we need to get out, we need to go somewhere and do something. So walking down through the middle of Glasgow on a Friday tea time, it was dead. It was apocalyptic. It was horrendous. So people like Johnny Mac and Mark G with a C that were driving up, hats off to them, because that must have been a hell of a journey. And Liam, our resident Death Doom metalhead, his flights were cancelled, so he decided to drive up from Norwich. I think he arrived in Glasgow about 11:45 at midnight, just as we were all sort of like getting turfed out of the pub. On the Saturday of the gig, weather was a bit still crappy on the morning, but we all met up, went and got some breakfast, and I looked around a couple of the record shops. Surprisingly didn't buy anything, and yeah, the bands on the day, all of them were flawless. From the young, well, last year I think it was their first ever gig, Jaundice, they started to set the ball rolling again this year, and in just that short period of time they've come on leaps and bounds. They were absolutely superb, and I say I could wax lyrically about all the bands. I'm not a big fan of standing with my phone in my hand filming bands, which is probably not the right thing to do if you're you want to be a YouTuber, a real YouTuber. But yeah, suffice to say, Dead of Winter 3 is going to be an absolute, whoever they get there, whatever the weather decides to throw at them, the boys up there in Scotland, they know what they're doing. Their death metal scene is absolutely out of this world. It's stupendous. So if you get the chance to go up and see it, I mean, hopefully with a lot less travel restrictions, then I would highly recommend get yourself a ticket. The price you pay for, I mean, this year I think we still had 9-10 bands maybe, you know, it's pennies. But yeah, so DoWII Fest, the second one, Storm tried to stop it. Nah, them lads up there, that they don't fuck about. They aren't bothered about a bit of bit of a blowy wind and a bit of rain and snow and sleet and hail and trees falling through people's houses and such like. But yeah, so absolutely fantastic event. I can't say fantastic weekend because of all the additional stress and such like, but yeah, the actual event itself, mint, top rate, highly recommended. Now then, to show some records. I've sort of got an idea of what I'm doing with them bits. As I left on the Thursday, my good lady Mrs. Beast messaged and said there's a parcel turned up, and I sort of like, I had an idea where it was, and then our good friend Mr. Dylan HM2 Powell sent me a photograph, said, oh look what's just turned up. So it was this one. This is the latest offering from the mighty Disrupted. These gentlemen are from Sweden. This is their third full length on Trust No One Recordings, and it's called Stinking Death. This is 10 tracks of unapologetic HM2 drenched death metal. The riffs are just savage, they're memorable, the hooks on it are razor sharp. It's an album that has been spun, because I knew the physical version had turned up at home. I thought, well, that sort of entitles me to getting it digitally as well, so I can listen to it. So from Sunday morning on the journey home until now, it has been spanned God knows how many times. It is absolutely superb. Can we see the hype sticker? I believe we can. This this isn't a very pretty vinyl. However, it's certainly not the ugliest one I'm going to show. But the sound on it, the sound's superb. We seem to make a lot of, or there used to be a stigma that coloured vinyl didn't sound as good, but yeah, they got it nailed. The only one disappointing thing about this was there's no like lyric sheet or thanks or anything like that with it. But again, it's just the rhythm section is absolutely solid and nailed on. The vocals are quite gruff, but they're not. You know, you can still understand what he's going on about. Absolutely superb release. I've got their previous album and this one. I'm still trying to get the first. I think the first one was maybe an EP, and then there's a full length. Well, I'll track them down at one day, at some point. Sorry. So yeah, this is absolutely superb. If you're a fan of HM2 driven death metal and you haven't heard this yet, then it's well worth picking up. So that is Disrupted and Stinking Death. Next up is an album that I was certain HM2 Guru told me about middle of last year, possibly, I think it was, and I got it on CD. The album is that good, I needed it on vinyl. The only problem with the vinyl is, and it might be time to put your sunglasses on, is it's one of the garishly horrendous Transcending Obscurity ones. This is Crawl and their album Altar of Disgust. It's their second full length. I say this came out last year. Again, this is death metal from Sweden. This is also dripping in HM2, but it's got more of it's more aggressive. It's got more anger, almost like a hardcore feel to it in places. The riffs are just absolutely, you know, it's modern death metal done supremely well, and it's managed to capture the old, like the Swedish sound. Obviously they're from Sweden, but I'm not explaining this very well. I know what I mean in my head. So obviously with it being from Transcending Obscurity, you get the sticker. This one we actually get the patch as well. which will no doubt find its way onto a jacket. Now, I can only apologise if, like me, you're not a fan of coloured vinyl. If you're a fan of coloured vinyl, then you're in for an absolutely spunk fest. Now, this is fucking gruesome. I mean, look at it. How would you even just begin to describe it? And this wasn't the worst variant by all accounts, but needs must. It's that good an album, I had to have it on vinyl. And I actually got it from the same place I ordered the Disrupted one. So, you know, two birds with one stone type thing. But yeah, apart from my criticism of the super shiny bollocks and stuff, the album itself, the music on this album is absolutely top notch. Brutal, heavy, aggressive, saturated in the beautiful Boss HM2 pedal, and yeah, sort of just melts your face off as you're listening to it. So that is Crawl on their 2024 release, All Through Disgust. Now then, talking of bands and records that rip your face off, this doesn't necessarily rip your face off. It's a lot worse. This is Pig Destroyer and their 38 Counts of Battery. This is a compilation out on Relapse Records. Pig Destroyer from America, grindcore. I believe Johnny Mac showed this sometime last year, and I realised it was one I didn't have, and then picked it up. What would it have been? Maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that, in the record store I frequent occasionally. This is a lot of the earlier releases. I believe it was an EP, some splits and such like. 38 Counts of Battery, obviously 38 songs. This is just an audio assault of the senses. This is the type of record where if Mr. Neighbourhood Serial Killer is busy doing about his, you know, sorting out his next skinning victim and such like, he'd probably have this playing in the background. This is like having your head stuck in a vice and Mr. Lado's over the other side, you know, with his rusty butcher's knife, flaying one of your next door neighbours. And every so often he'll come across and smash you in the face with a sledgehammer and then go back and maybe turn the volume up a little bit. Inside it we get 4 of the gentlemen and quite a savage little piece of artwork. Again, you know, if I would assume if you're watching my channel you know who Pig Destroyer are. It's on a red vinyl with sort of a black smoky swirl effect. Yeah, if you're not a fan of grindcore, then I wouldn't imagine this to change your mind. However, if you're in the mood for something that's just total unrelenting blood, snot and thunder, then this is you won't go far wrong with this. It's an absolute belting release, and it's the savagery and nastiness are pretty much unparalleled. Yeah, it's a bit it's full on, and definitely not for a casual list. You know, you're not going to stick it on while you're making a cup of tea or ironing your shirt or something like that. It's a little bit more sadistic than that. So that is Pig Destroyer and their 38 Counts of Battery. The next one and last one I want to show is Dave up at Cavernous Carney showed it on, I believe it was on his metal tag, and the cover intrigued me, so I messaged him and asked him, you know, exactly where it was. So I'm going to show it, but the cover's not very nice, so I'm not going to hold it up as long as I normally do. This is Catasexual Urge Motivation and their 2022 release, Death to Pigs. This is a compilation on morbid classics. This is Death and Gore Grind from Japan. Now, whereas Pig Destroyer are full on, no nonsense, murder, death, kill, grindcore, this is more of a, I don't even know if it, yeah, I'll show you quickly. The inner sheet is just a lot of the Manson family, what they left after the Sharon Tate massacre. This is more, it's still grindcore, porno grind, horror, whatever you want to call it, death metal in places, but it's also very much more industrial sounding. If you can think of a band, say somebody along the lines of Ministry, but on like a really hyped up steroid induced frenzy. You see Mr. Manson on the inner labels. He wasn't a very well man, wasn't Charlie Boy. But yeah, this again, it's I wouldn't say it's an essential own. I'm pleased I've got it, and it's certainly not again similar to Pig Destroyer. If you're not a fan of it, of Gore Grind, it's not gonna change your opinions. But we'll try and hide Sharon's disfigurements there. But yeah, Catasexual Urge Motivation. The name sort of gives you a clue on what you're going to be listening to. Some of the song titles of I Come to Taste Your Blood, I Come to Take Your Soul. It's pure fucking hatred, world showcase of cruelty and bloodshed. Too Many Killed to Confess. So yeah, it's not, they're probably not the nicest chaps, you know, you're not going to bring them home to meet your grandparents for tea and biscuits. But yeah, Catasexual Urge Motivation, out on Morbid Classics. So that's it. Again, DoWII Fest. I can't praise the gents high enough, and all the bands that were there for that day, absolutely superb. Big bonus for me, or highlight for me, was finally getting to see Tenebro live, who were just fantastic. Shout out to Ryan, the man, the myth, the legend, for playing second guitar for him. Actually, talking about Ryan, Grave Ghoul, it was their first ever live performance. I think he said it was the first time they'd actually been in the same room playing live, and to be as good as they were on the first get together, it was just ridiculous. But I digress. We'll be back with probably a bit of a black metal collection update. I've sort of got the biggest part of the 500 giveaway competition sorted. It's nothing too obscure like the last one I did for the 200 subs. So to all the new subscribers, welcome. Hope you find something of interest. To all my original subscribers, thank you very much for keep coming back and listening to me waffle shit about music. Any of these you want to chat about, please go down into the comments. If you think it's worthy of a thumbs up, always appreciated. If you've stuck with me this long for this video, thank you very much again. Always appreciated. I think it's time to go and drown in a vat of lemsip or something like that to get rid of this bloody snot, but still. Look after one another. Enjoy whatever music you're listening to. Enjoy whatever genre you're listening to. And till the next time, and as always, cheers!